I thought this was interesting because Ralph Chittam, who is I guess, the head of the Republican Party or has a high position in the Republican Party in Washington, D.C., basically danced around an issue. Now, he didn't dance all the way around the issue, but he did somewhat dance around the issue because he really didn't have a solid answer, and what else was he going to do? This has to do with the striking down of the North Carolina regressive voting laws. And Roland basically asked a question of him, and you'll see the question, and you'll see his dancing around and lack of answer. Let's just jump into the video. I'll make my comments on the other side because I don't want to. I've been accused of giving out too much information before the video rolls and people will get upset. So let me let the video roll, and then I'll come back in.
Transgression. North Carolina, they have one of the most ridiculous voter suppression laws in the country. Now, the Supreme Court recently ruled that the state's voter ID law plus other efforts to suppress the vote will not go into effect in this year's general election. But folks, what's amazing, it's amazing when you actually go through and realize how North Carolina, the extent that they went to try to strip black folks of the right to vote. It was stunning. Eon Millhiser is a justice editor for Think Progress, and he laid it out in a particular piece as well. He joins us right now via Skype. And Ian, I saw your piece, and I've been reading this story here, and I've been calling out Wright's previous chair, Republican National Committee. This was blatant racism on the part of Republicans in North Carolina. They literally asked for data. How many blacks voted during the first week of early voting because they wanted to cut the early voting locations?
Before he goes into that, you see that the banner on the bottom, it says North Carolina voter ID law on hold for 2016. That is not correct. The North Carolina ID law has been struck down. It is not on hold. It is dead. Okay? Now, what they can do when the 5th Supreme Court justice is named, and they won't do it unless a Republican wins or a Republican third-party candidate wins. What they can do is turn around and reappeal for the reinstatement of their laws. But as of this moment, it is dead. It can be revived, but it is dead.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, this is the sort of law that we really haven't seen since Jim Crow. It's a comprehensive voter suppression law. It includes many of the kinds of voter suppression provisions that we've seen in other states. But one of the things that makes this law unique beyond the sheer scope of it is the way that they designed it is, like you said, they gathered data on racial voting patterns. They looked at how black people tend to vote in North Carolina. They looked at how white people tend to vote in North Carolina. And then they specifically designed the law to increase its impact on black voters and to reduce its impact on white voters. So they found, for example, that black voters tend to like to vote during the week before the first week of early voting. So they cut that. They found that black voters particularly are likely to vote during Sundays because they're often souls to the polls efforts where voters go from the church straight to the polls. And so they made sure to cut a Sunday out of there. And even after the court ordered them to put those days back, the executive director of the state Republican Party and various county officials are doing everything in their power to make sure that as few of those days will be restored, that Sunday won't be restored, that it will be hard to vote early. Because again, they've made very clear that the purpose of this law is to keep black people from the polls.
And Ian, and as you break out, and the headline on your piece was North Carolina's monster voter suppression law could swing the election. I mean, look, Obama wins North Carolina by 14,100 votes in 2008, loses in 2012. Right. I mean, Republicans, and what's stunning to me, North Carolina achieved its highest voter turnout in the last 2 elections. You would think folks would be ecstatic that Americans will be exercising their right to vote. North Carolina Republicans said, oh, no, we got to slow this black train down.
Right. I mean, what's going on here is that there's a correlation between race and party in North Carolina. You know, if you are black, you are overwhelmingly likely to prefer Democrats to Republicans. If you are white, you're much more likely to be a Republican. And so they figured out essentially that they could use race as a proxy. They know that if they find ways to target black people, if they find ways to target black neighborhoods and make it harder to vote, then it's going to be more likely that Republican candidates are going to win in each election. So, you know, in some sense, it's different than what happened in Jim Crow, in that if there were black voters that they knew were going to vote Republican, they'd be happy to have those folks show up at the polls too. But so long as they think that they can use race as a proxy for party, they're happy to do everything they can to keep black people from voting.
Ian, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Quickly with our panel here, Ralph, I'll go with you. And we talked about this here. And again, I'm just trying to understand, will black Republicans call out what's happening in North Carolina? Will they literally be a news conference calling on the party to condemn these actions? I mean, they were specific and said, bring us the black voter data. And they positioned this law based upon that data.
All right, now this is the part that I'm really concentrating on. I've been talking about the removal, the invalidation of the North Carolina voter suppression laws for a while now. But my focus in this particular video is on the black Republicans that you haven't heard a word from regarding these voter suppression laws. Now, in my opinion, silence is acquiescence. So if the black Republicans are not speaking out about laws that are designed to negatively impact the black communities of these various states, then what the hell good are they? Okay? Now, watch Ralph, watch the questions to him, which Roland is going to place, and watch his answers. And in my opinion, his answers fall well short of acceptability.
I mean, like you said, we've discussed this on the show, and I have said I abhor any and all attempts to suppress anybody's vote for any reason whatsoever.
You didn't answer my question.
By Republicans
You didn't answer my question.
or Democrats.
You didn't answer my question.
I have spoken out about it.
You didn't answer my question. Will black Republicans as a group of African Americans, hold a news conference to specifically call this out and demand the Republican National Committee also call out North Carolina Republicans?
You're asking me, are the black? I don't speak for all black Republicans. I can say I speak out. I speak for myself,
Right.
and I abhor this.
But,
this is wrong.
But you know other black Republicans, right?
Of course, I know white Republicans.
Have many of you, have y'all had a discussion about this, saying, hey, we need to stand together as a group and call this out?
We have discussions about lots of things.
Okay, I'm asking.
This is one of them.
Okay. And
All right, notice he said that they have discussions about lots of things, and this is one of them. Remember that.
so, have y'all had that discussion about saying we need to stand together and publicly call this out?
I have not had a discussion about calling a press conference.
Would you
Okay?
feel comfortable doing so? Like, would you feel comfortable going to Rance Priebus and saying this is an abomination and it's an embarrassment to the Republican Party and you got to get
The
rid of it?
Republican Party did the same thing in Ohio. They did the same thing in Florida previously. They're doing this again. I guess the bottom line is, do black people who are in the Republican Party care about racism toward black people? And care about it as
How
a
come
group?
nobody wants to talk about Democrats suppressing votes?
Like what?
Like in the primaries in New York and California, the DNC and the state party reps suppressed the vote to ensure that
How?
Hillary Clinton
How?
would win the
No,
primaries.
Hold on,
But
one second.
nobody
Hold on,
wants to talk about that. All of a sudden we come
One
here
second.
and it's
Ralph, you made a statement. What's the facts? What did they do?
They cleansed the voter rolls. They illegally removed people from the voter roll.
Where?
In New York and California.
Did they remove black people?
Yeah, that's
from
what
the
I was
voter
that's what I was
rolls?
going to
That's
ask.
I mean, that's the
That's
question. Because the bottom line is,
But why does it have to only be black people for voter suppression?
because black
to be
people
laws?
came here in chains and have built the country and are systemically
suppression-
denied.
Because black people were the targets of this particular North Carolina voter suppression law, Ralph. That's why.
Voter
The right
suppression.
to vote, to
Whether
vote,
it's
to
white
vote.
people
This
or black people.
because we built this nation and people are spitting on black people, men and women, all over the country. And that's why it is incumbent upon us to have a very serious discussion and say, yes, voter suppression against any group is horrible, but
Right.
particularly against people who came here in chains and built the nation
or how
and
about-
today can walk
Real
down the
quick,
street
real
and be
quick,
shot dead
real quick,
just
you
for
know.
the crime of being
How about-
black.
All right, I like Michelle Bernard, okay? And if you notice, she was getting her 2 cents in, but she was also looking to Cleo Monago for support. I can work with that.
Particularly your own people, because you're black. And black people are being discriminated against and being left out of the process through unprincipled means, and these are affecting people who are part of your family and part of your life and who are like you. What about that? And also, even if what you said about New York has some truth, which I have not seen any indication of it yet, we're talking about several years in a row, Ohio, Florida, and now here, where they keep on doing this racist thing. And I think what Roland is talking about is, are you guys going to coalesce against racism in your party?
Ralph, 30 seconds.
No, we speak against racism. I can actually tell you, inside of the DC Republican Party, I have very few friends because I speak up and speak out on issues because I have a forum inside that organization. I have a title, I have a position of power. And inside my sphere of influence, I can tell you I speak up and have no problem calling foolishness when I see it.
Gotta go.
Okay, but see, the problem is speaking up inside of an organization, okay, is one thing. But remember when I said to remember that he said that they have had meetings about it? What was the decision on taking action? What came out of your meetings, Ralph? Apparently nothing but silence. See, the whole point of the thing is you can scream to the high heavens in a closet and nobody hears you. What we're looking for is for these black Republicans that so-called know what's right for the black community to get out there, as Roland indicated, and have a press conference, especially the black Republicans, if there are any, in North Carolina, and scream to the high heavens about the racist laws in North Carolina that have been struck down. They need to condemn them. They need to address the RNC and ask them what their position is on the laws, and if they are holier than thou and believe in the democratic process, that they should condemn them as well. But that's not what we're getting here. And Ralph is pussyfooting around the fact that he really is being silent. He can say that in his little sphere of influence, he has few friends because he speaks out. But again, what the hell good is that doing to let black people know that you support black people and their right to vote. And I don't want to see that dancing around. Well, in New York, there was voter suppression. In California, there was voter suppression. There may have been, and it has been reported that there was some funny business going on in the New York primaries and possibly the California primaries. And I damn sure am not going to excuse that. And I still believe that the fix may have been in against Bernie Sanders, but that's a whole nother video. But even so, there were no laws that specifically targeted the black people. Now, how they targeted people that were going to vote for Bernie Sanders, I don't know. But by removing the people from the polls, if you tried to do it by name or whatever, and you wanted to identify, and you weren't to identify a certain segment of people, well, heck, Hillary Clinton won by a landslide in New York. So whatever you were trying to do, if it was against her, didn't work, and it damn sure wasn't against her, was for her. So winning by 30 and winning by 40, what the hell's the difference? Anyway, Ralph, you need to, as Cleo said, grow a pair, step up to the plate, and make a public statement regarding the North Carolina voting suppression laws, and bring a bunch of your black Republican buddies with you.
I would like to see black Republicans as a group stand up and condemn the voter suppression in North Carolina, hold that news conference, demand that party leadership also call it out, because in North Carolina, they made a specific, clear attempt to strip black people of the right to vote. Black people. They targeted black people. We come back, don't.
All right. That's the final thought on this. Give it to Roland.